What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel. As you guys know, I have some very fine gentlemen here who run the Big Blue Krew. We have one missing, but he'll be coming in shortly. We have Joel and we have Big Pat, of course. You guys can go subscribe to their channels. All that stuff is in the description. Gentlemen, we are about less than 24 hours away from the NFL draft and the first pick, possibly. Very excited. I know we all are excited for basically what is our Super Bowl every year. So before we get into the questions and stuff, I just want to throw it around. Your thoughts, your first thoughts, and your just excitement overall. I'll start with Joel.
Well, the first thing I'd like to do is congratulations to the young man who's going to be introducing our 5th round pick tomorrow on the NFL stage. Make a wish. Congratulations to that young man. Shout out to the New York Giants for allowing that man his opportunity for his day in the sunshine. That doesn't make me any prouder to be a Giants fan than I am right now. When an organization goes out of its way for a young man like that, that's my team, baby. That's what I want out of my team. Stuff like that. Oh, I mean, where to start? I'm kind of I mean, I'm so hyped up right now. Pat, you go because I can't talk.
That is pretty cool to make a wish, letting them call the Giants' first pick this year in this upcoming draft. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't know where they can go with this. They can go so many different directions. You really don't know what Joe Shane and Dable and Wink or those guys thinking as far as the draft because they haven't tipped their hand in no shape or form. And I believe that's a very good thing because in previous drafts, we've tipped our hand. Everybody knew who we wanted to draft in the previous years, and people made moves to stop that from happening. I mean, last year, everybody knew that we wanted Devontae Smith before the draft, and the Eagles traded up and grabbed him. So I think these guys are very calculated at what they're doing. And I'll just be honest with you, they can go in so many different directions because this is a true rebuild. So really, unless, I mean, I prefer them not to take a quarterback, but if they take a quarterback, that means they're going in a different direction, So, I mean, the rebuild starts tomorrow, to be honest with you. The true rebuild starts tomorrow because you rebuild through the draft. Yes, we've gotten a lot of free agents, but most of those free agent contracts are one-year deals. I think we only signed one free agent more than a one-year deal, and that was Glowinski. Signed 3 years, $21 million, but everybody else is on a one-year deal because I believe they're just fillers. Now, if they play well enough to get a contract next year, hopefully they do, they'll get a done contract. But this is the rebuild. This is where it started right here. So I can't tell you Big Blue and Bronx. I'm sorry. I don't have much intel. I've done all the study and everything, but they can go in like 10 different directions and they wouldn't be wrong. Just to be honest with you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's no straight way about it. They can't go many different directions. And they have multiple needs on this team, but also they're in the top 5, so you can take BPA, and that honestly is suiting a need unless you go somewhere else, which we don't even know. Shouts to Jersey Life, Jared, and Tudo, of course. We're all doing fine, Tudo. Thanks for asking. Let's get down to probably one of the more concerning things with the Giants, and that's really this offensive tackle class. There's been debates over the last few weeks, who's 1, who's 2, who's 3. And you could go into 4 and 5 if you want, but that's not really in the realm of what the Giants are going to be like at 5 and 7 unless they trade down. And, we don't know if that's going to happen. We don't know if that's going to happen. That's a possibility. But choose your top 3 tackles, and I'll start with mine. I like Evan Neal the most, and then it's Aquanu, and then it's Cross. I know everybody's, high on Cross because of the way he is now, how he's a polished pass protector. But what I worry about a lot, and obviously teams have went over players and they've passed on players based on one thing, and I think that's ceiling. Charles Cross, I don't think has a high ceiling in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be, this he's going to be solid in the NFL. I just don't think he's going to be this grand tackle like maybe some predict him to be, or the best tackle in this class. Evan Neal, I believe, has a high ceiling. Aquanu has a couple of different issues technique-wise, but I think he has a very high ceiling. And Cross, once again, I like him, solid guy. But with that being said, I just feel he doesn't have a high ceiling. I'll let Joel start.
Well, I got it a little bit different. I like Ekwonu better. Okay, I think he has a little bit more toughness than Neal does. When we break down tape, we don't break down highlights. We watch game film. So and we called their games. So it's not like I'm taking this just from nothing. It's the game film I'm taking it from. Ekwonu pancakes people, puts guys on the ground. When I watched games of Neal, especially the Georgia game and stuff like that, I would see him go up, make contact, make the block, hold it for a second, then he'd just stand there. And then he does sit back a little bit too much on his heels before contact. It causes him to lean a little bit. Neal does have that problem. And you're right, Ekwanu's got some little things he has to work on too. They're both not going to be perfect. But I don't think you're going to miss out on any of the three. I think Cross, I think Neal, and I think Ekwonu are going to be phenomenal talents in this league with the right coaching. They have that upside to them. They have the size, they have the agility, and the ability to play against a speed rusher. It might be with the power moves where they struggle in some cases because they're going to be seeing different things they haven't seen in college. They're going up against pros in the NFL, whereas college, you got a freshman pass rusher. You can use your size against some of these guys a little easier. They're not going to have that advantage anymore. So, I mean, if you look at Thomas's first year, his first 6 games was really bad, but then he took off. He started figuring things out. I think these guys are going to go down the same path. I think they're going to be more like a Thomas. But as far as, who, man, we'll have to dig into who I want later. But I'm not a tackle guy right now at 5. I can't help it.
You're not a tackle guy. I'm guessing you're a tackle guy at 7.
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting to talk about.
Yes,
I'll let
it
Big
is.
Pat speak.
When it comes to the tackle class, I'm going to take it a little different. I'm not going to do rankings. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I believe they are. Ekwonu, I believe he's going to struggle in pass protection the very first year. I believe he needs a lot of seasoning when it comes to the pass protection. Run game is going to be absolutely a monster in the run game from the beginning because that's his stilo. That he trains people. He just bowls people over. I think we have problems against edge rushers who come with finesse, that come with different moves. Edges that have a lot of bend, like what's my guy that just signed with the Bills? I'm sorry, I'm real bad with names.
Von Miller.
Von Miller. You're like the Von Miller types, the guys that are very athletic and get that bend off the edge. I think they are absolutely going to eat him up his first year. Just to be honest with you. Am I saying that he's not going to be a good tackle? No, that's the furthest thing I'm saying. But as far as right now, I think Ekwonu is going to struggle the most when it comes to the pass game. Now, the run game, I don't think he has an issue at all. Evan Neal, on the other hand, I think he's going to struggle in the pass game a little bit too, with the exact same issues Ekwonu was having. And he's not as nasty as Ekwonu when it comes to the run. Am I going to say that he takes plays off? No, I just don't think he finishes plays. I looked at his film.
Yes.
He does not finish plays, and that can hurt you in the NFL because sometimes the quarterback may need a little bit more time. And if you put your hands on him, you're not putting him to the ground, and he gives you a second move. In college, most guys are not giving you 2 moves in college. In the NFL, the one of the middle of the road edge rushers can give you 2 moves. You think that you won, and all of a sudden you on your butt because he done gave you another move because he done counteracted what you did. So I think Evan Neal needs a little bit more polishing than people think. And Cross, I believe he's the best pass protector in this draft when it comes to the tackles, and I don't think it's close. The question about him is his overall strength. Is he going to be strong enough to hold that outside when we try to do an outside zone run? Or will he allow that edge rusher to get inside of him or bull rush him back into a Saquon Barkley or whoever we have running the ball at that particular time? So there's questions about all 3 of these tackles. I think they like Cross a little bit more than Evan Neal, to be honest with you. I think they like Cross a little bit more. And I won't be mad if they pick either one of those offensive tackles because if they turn into a bookend tackle, we got 2 bookend tackles with Thomas and whoever they pick. But I think it's a little bit more complicated than what people think. You think that just because we get one of these tackles, everything is just going to be solved. No, that's not the case. And what's even harder is we don't know the scheme that the Giants are trying to run. We got an idea they like to do inside out, but that's what they did at their previous job, previous team. What are they trying to build here? And if you're doing an inside out, that means that right tackle and left tackle are going to have to be on their game. They're going to have to be on their game because a lot of the times they're not going to get any help unless it's from the running back. And we all know Saquon Barkley is not a blocking back. I don't think Matt Breida's a blocking back either. So they're going to be on an island a lot of the time. And I think we're going to be a passing first team, to be honest with you. I don't think this is going to be a run first team. So Cross may be the guy. But that's just my take on it. I don't mean to make everything so complicated. Everybody just thinks that just because we drafted Evan Neal or Cross, everything is going to be fine. It's not going to be like that, man. It may take them a learning curve. You might see Gano start in the first couple of games because there is a learning curve for him. You don't know. So, I mean, Alex, I'm going to give it back to you, man. That's just my opinion about the tackle position coming up in this draft.
Yeah, shout outs to Jared, Jared for the comment, Kayla, Mac. I try to get to as most as possible. Obviously, Pat, great analysis there, and obviously Joel obviously knows as well because they did college games during the season. Joel would always go live on the Saturdays. Always enjoyed those shows and stuff like that. In your guys' opinion, and actually, I'm going to get to one of Tudo's comments. He said. Teams should go best offensive tackle at 5, best edge rush at 7, and best available wide receiver in the second round. What do you guys think? For me, I'm going to start. I don't think it's going to be listen, I mean, I would love Tibbs. I would love, maybe another edge rusher, maybe Jermaine Johnson. Realistically, though, I'm just set on it's going to be Sauce Gardner with one of those picks. I know recently there's been some buzz about Evan Neal as the top player on the Giants draft board right now. Personally, I don't believe it. I know the Giants were a heavy presence at the Mississippi State Pro Day, and Bobby Johnson was working with Charles Cross a little bit. So I feel like if Evan Neal and Cross are on the board at 5, I think that the Giants are going to take Sauce, and then they'll just let Cross fall to them because he either fits them better or he's the safer pick, and they could just let Evan Neal go, and they could develop Cross and, worry about him. So in response to Tudo's comment, I'll start with Joel.
Well, look, I love what Tudo's saying. As far as this draft, just because I said that at 5 and 7, I don't want to write a tackle, doesn't mean I'm going to be upset if we get one, because I honestly feel there's no real way we can mess up this draft with everybody that's up there in the top 7. All these guys are good, fantastic athletes that have the talent to be a game changer. But if I've got to take the best tackle, what if Neal and Ekwonu are both gone? Do you want to take Cross at 5? Because, Carolina might be looking at a tackle. Or if Sauce is there, who's a much better player projected, would you rather have Sauce? All right. Now, we just broke down the film of Schoen's presser, and he said he's going to take the best player available. If he thinks that Sauce Gardner's a better player than Cross, we're not going to get a tackle. Or might let him, if he slips to 7, then maybe grab him. But I don't see us reaching for Cross if he's not going to be evaluated over these other guys. Because Shane has come right out in his press conference, I'm not drafting for need. You do that, you get in trouble. I'm drafting BPA. So we got to look at it at the draft like that if he's going to be true to his word. We're going to find out in 24 hours.
Big Pat.
I mean, what if they do have Cross as the best player available? You don't know.
Right.
They may have Cross as the best player available. He may fit exactly what they want to do. And if he does and he's there at 5 and there's no other tackle on the board, I can pretty much guarantee they're going to take him.
Right.
If they have him better than Kayvon Thibodeau or something, and we can speak on that real quick. Only way I'll know what they'll do for sure in the draft in the first round is if they have a trade in place for Bradbury. If they have a trade in place for Bradbury, look for either Stingley or Cross to be drafted with the 5 or 7 pick. That's the only way I know what they'll do in the first round. If they got a trade in place for Bradbury, they definitely have to get another corner. They feel they have to get another corner. They may not feel as good about Aaron Robinson as we do. So they're definitely going to draft another corner, and I wouldn't be mad at that. But people got to understand, man, everybody's saying, oh, you get the right tackle on the best edge. Okay. And I've been telling people, man, when you look at Wink's defenses, he never really had a top edge rush on his defenses.
Right.
All his defenses were fabricated by blitzing. So what if the best player available on the board happens to be Kyle Hamilton? Guys, don't kill me, but it can happen. If they feel that Kyle Hamilton fits well with Xavier McKinney, and it makes that defense that much better because Kyle Hamilton could do it all. He could blitz, he could guard the slot, he could guard the tight end, he could play safety in the back, he could play sideline to side. I mean, he can do it all. What if they feel he's the best player available? If Neal and Ekwonu were gone.
Wink came out, he said he wants multi-role people for his defense.
Right.
And
that's what they signed in free agency. Jahad Ward. He can play the edge. He can play defensive tackle. He can do a lot. So don't be surprised if you can see. I'm going to get killed, but what if they take Sauce at 5 and Kyle Hamilton there at 7? They're like, holy crap. We can get both these guys and have one of the best secondaries in the league very soon. Hey, what if that turns out to be the truth?
I'll get y'all fired up. What if Walker's there at 5? Wink just said he wants multi-talented people. That kid from Georgia, Walker.
He can play inside.
He can play any position. What does Wink want? Versatility. Is that going to upset some people?
It's not up to us at the end of the day.
It's what it is. And then Jared's asked this a couple of times, if you don't mind, Alex. Is it just me, or why does the GM have to approve the draft board?
Honestly,
that's a really good question.
Honestly, I would with the.
Sorry, my internet goes out.
You're good, Joel. Honestly, I would rather have that because we still have some moles in the front office. Like Chris Pettit's still there. I would rather Joe Shane approve the draft board. My personal opinion, and Brian Dable, of course.
Yeah. Yes.
Kayla says Sauce at 5, Wilson at 7. Let the fans scream. I did see a little bit of Big Pat's mock the other day that had Wilson at 7, I believe it was, for the Giants. So that was interesting. Kayla says, get the most balanced, polished player. That's Evan Neal. But guys, these so-called second-round tackles aren't too far in terms of grade from the top 3 tackles. And there are second, third-round guys. But, I think it's just a big drop from where we're considering and where we're thinking of these top tackles. Because personally, I know he's like a 4th-round pick and not even close to starting caliber. I like Kellen Dyche at Arizona State. But also
he's actually pretty good.
Yeah. But you go into like the 2nd, 3rd round, there's Abraham Lucas out of Washington or Washington State. There's if Trevor Penning lasts the 2nd round, I think a team will reach for him in the 1st round, my personal opinion. So you got him. You got the right tackle from Central Michigan, which Jordan Renan has brought up as a possible pick for the Giants in the 2nd round, which once again is interesting. There's Zach Tom. There's a bunch of guys. So I wouldn't rule that out. Let's see. Let me just go to a couple more comments. We'll go on to the next one. I don't want us to go cross at 5 if you have a player rated much higher than you're drafting for need. Once again, I personally think they like Cross a lot better than some of the other guys, but it is what it is. So my second question is, what are some positions? And I understand you guys are more of the laid back approach, but what are some positions that the Giants, in your opinion, if you were drafting, should avoid at 5 and 7? And Kayla says Kayvon to the Jets, and I know there's been, if you want to call it a smokescreen, that the Jets are not going to draft Thibodeau. They'd rather go Johnson. But back to the Giants, if you were the GM or just in charge or whatever, and even if you're not, what are some positions you would like to avoid at 5 and 7 if you had a choice?
If I had a choice, it'd be running back in the 1st round, tight end in the 1st round, center or guard in the 1st round at 5 and 7, that high. mean, if we were in the 20s, then I wouldn't mind a center or guard in the first round, but not at 5 and 7.
Yeah.
I'm looking more when I say I don't want a lineman at 5 and 7. I want star power. I want players. I want dogs. I want guys that are going to go out there and ball out, make a play. And right now, this team just needs everything. We don't have any solidarity to this team at all. It's a fresh start. And I understand that everybody is screaming for a right tackle, but we should have learned something from the Bengals last year, Alex. We all criticized them taking Jamar Chase over Sewell, and we killed them for that. Well, who made it to the Super Bowl? That you got to look at that aspect. Everyone says that I'm an old school, old head, but I do follow today's football. Today's football was a bad old line with a star player that was out there for 17 weeks. That's what it was all about. Those guys were healthy. Burrow could get some repetition in with these guys, get familiar, win some games. My God, they beat the Ravens that nobody expected. They were what, 5-2, 5-1 at one point?
I think they swept the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, guys, didn't we learn anything from that? They had a bad, shoddy old line, but because they had a scheme, they had a coaching staff that was teaching them week in, week out. They had plays where they could counteract the weakness on the line. Yeah, Burrow did get hit. But now they went out this year and fixed that line. Are the Bengals going to be an option to repeat for, the AFC Championship game? They're looking pretty good right now. That's what we have to grow. That's what we have to develop right there is we need 2 or 3 first-round draft picks to be on here and then get the guys with the same focus. That's what the Bengals did. It took 4 years.
Big Pat, your thoughts?
As far as positions, I don't want them to take in the first round. I believe it's quite obvious. You're not going to take a running back or a tight end or anything.
You're awful quiet, Pat.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
As far as taking, we all know the positions that they're not going to take. They're not going to take a running back in the first. They're not going to take a tight end, or they're not going to. I don't think they should take a guard or a center with the 5 or 7 pick unless you feel Linderbaum is that guy. If you feel Linderbaum is that guy, then I won't mind. If they feel that Linderbaum is that guy, take him at 7. Because if we get a center, a top center, that helps out the line tremendously. It does. But I just think they're just going to go best player available. And I think a lot of fans are going to be shocked when it comes to draft night. When they don't take that right tackle at 5 and that edge at 7, there's going to be a lot of pissed off Giants fans, man.
Right.
I'm just going to be honest with you.
Edge. I'm not
expecting edge either.
So
unless somebody like Aiden Hutchinson falls to number 5, I think they're high on him, but I don't think they're as high as on Kayvon Thibodeau as the fans are. I'll be honest with you, man. I think he might be like their 3rd or 4th edge rusher. It's something. I guess it's something about the kid that's rubbing, and it's not rubbing teams the wrong way. It's not just the Giants, man. The Lions coach came out and said I don't think he fits the coaching, and he comes off a little brash. But only thing I worry about Thibodeau is our defense is a team-oriented defense. What I mean by that is everybody has to fill a gap on this defense with Wink Martindale, because if you go out there and Wink's defense and you don't fill the correct gap, we are going to get gashed every time. If there's a good quarterback on the field, you're going to get gashed every time. If there's a Dalvin Cook on the field, you go inside instead of going out, or you go outside instead of going inside where you're supposed to, there's a huge gaping Mack truck hole right there, and he's going to take off for 30 yards. So is he going to humble himself enough to come on this team and just be a part of the team and not the main focus? That's what you're going to have to be. That's why they're getting guys like Jahai Ward and people like that. And I think we got the people on this team that can play like that. Ojulari can play like that. I think Ellerson Smith and Roche can play like that. Leonard Williams is playing like that. You have to be selfless in Wink Martindale's system, that's for sure. And maybe they feel that he's not ready to do that, or he's not willing to do that. Who knows? But any position, they draft any position except for quarterback. I think if they take a quarterback, it'll be wrong.
I think so too.
Because I wouldn't want to put my future on the line for any of these guys. I'm sorry. I wouldn't.
Yeah, and before I bring in another guy, I just want to say this, and someone brought it up, and I agree. I know I've always liked Joel's, obviously, cheering for Daniel Jones and the way he defends Daniel Jones. But, you think about it this way, wherever you are in Daniel Jones, if you're you're not so much of a fan of him or whatever, shout outs also to Taj. If you draft a quarterback in this class, and I understand, new regime, all this stuff, that stuff, you got to understand it. You're basically doing what they did with Eli Manning, where they Justin Herbert was gone, he went back to school. There was a better class that next year, but then they said, "Oh shit, we got to go draft a quarterback now. We don't have any other options. Eli's getting old." So then they select Jones, and then we're in this cycle all over again. And once again, and I think. Maybe I'm wrong on this. I want to ask you guys real quickly, and I'm bringing the guest as well. Is this class like a 2013 class and even worse than 2019?
Oh yeah, this class is. This class. I mean, maybe a tad bit better because there's more guys to choose from. Because I think that class had Haskins, Daniel Jones, and Drew Lock. If I'm not mistaken, were the top guys. Yeah. This class is maybe a tad bit better than those guys. Yeah.
They have these guys coming out this year have the potential to be an average or above average quarterback. Every one of them. But it's going to take the right team and the right foundation for these guys to succeed. And like I would have to say the perfect example would be like a Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. Where you got a simple offense, no real pressure right now. Everyone knows that they're rookies. The fan base is kind of hyped up, okay, because of all the Malik Willis talk. Well, if the Steelers get Kenny Pickett, that could be a huge boost for their team because they've watched Pittsburgh. I mean, they're thinking of the Marino days when Marino was at Pitt and wound up at Miami with 32. That's one thing about Pittsburgh's team is they always go, what if we had Dan Marino? So if they can get an ample time to sit back for a year or at least half the season, hold the clipboard, know what it takes to be a professional, learn how to read a defense. Me and Pat have harped on how Drew Brees said it took him 3 years to learn how to read a defense. One of the best quarterbacks in the league said this. Mahomes said it his first year. Thank God he sat out. Learned how to read a defense. That's what these kids need. That's what all these rookies need. That was Daniel Jones's biggest hindrance was learning how to read a defense. If you come out in a base defense, he's going to pick you apart. When you complicate it, then he gets lost, but he never had the teachers. You could say Jameis Winston didn't really have the teachers, or maybe it was a medical condition. I know he had eye surgery. Why wasn't that diagnosed earlier? Were guys in Tampa Bay just giving up on him? Is that what was going on with the last two coaches? He goes down to the Saints. He looked like something last year before he got hurt. These kids, they got to understand the NFL game. Fans have got to understand not everybody can just come out here and read the defense. Not everybody can just come out here and be all pro. Development time. Me and Pat brought this up. Quincy Roche and Azeez Ojulari. Everybody wanted to see him out there week 1, but they got out there week 5. Joe Judge did the right thing. I know people hate Joe Judge, but Joe Judge went and did the things. You know what? He groomed them to become into the league, taught them what it was like to be a professional, taught them their craft. And by the end of the season, those two guys are our best pass rushers. That's what you have to do with the quarterbacks. I think a lot of these rookies, I think the NFL should do that. Let these guys develop and learn. Everyone was hollering our first round pick. Kadarius Toney's not on the field, but when he hit the field, boy, he was ready. That Dallas game proved he was ready. My internet, damn it.
With that being said, I'd like to welcome on another guest on the panel. That's Mage, of course, of Clapback Sports. Just for first thoughts, Mage, before we get to the next question, thoughts less than 24 hours to the first pick tomorrow. How are you feeling?
Sorry, I had an issue with the microphone there for a minute. Hey, what's up, Alex? I appreciate you having me on, man. A lot of smoke so far this week, though, huh, man? A lot of new things coming out. A lot of all of a sudden Hutchinson falling out of the top 4. We got Trayvon Walker going first overall to the Jaguars. We got, it's been unbelievable. Usually I like to do a few mock drafts prior to the start of really kind of the draft and smoke season, kind of see, because a lot of things really do change leading up to the draft so much. So initial thoughts, man, I'm not buying a lot of what we're seeing over today and, yesterday, more or less.
Yeah, definitely. So Kayla says that QBs are expected to produce year one. Obviously, shouts to Authentic as well. He was talking about Kyler Murray in terms of the 2019 class, and won't know till we see these kids on the field. And then Max says they don't.
Kyler Murray was in that class.
Yeah.
In 2019 he was.
Yeah, first overall pick.
Yeah.
The same class as Daniel Jones. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I don't know.
The one golden star in that class.
Right.
And then Max says they don't give first round kids time to develop. That's why scouting is so critical. Yeah, I mean the game's changed towards that. But also, next question. Obviously, first round prospects are great. I'm gonna go with one before I go with the other one. The Giants have the possibility to trade back like they did last year. Any trade back candidates for you guys? I'll start with Joel.
The trade back candidate, Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd would be a trade back candidate that I would like to go back to 12 or 14, wherever, we could pick him up at. Linebacker is critical for Wink Martindale's system. He has to be a coverage linebacker, a solid tackler. All these guys in Wink's system are going to have to be a solid tackler, and it's a huge need of ours. So if we do get a corner and we go linebacker trading down and get future draft capital, I'm all for that.
Pat?
If we had to get a player on the trade back around that 12 to 16 range, Devin Lloyd is definitely one of the guys I'll be looking at. The defensive tackle from Georgia will be one I'll be looking at.
Yes.
Zion Johnson will definitely be a guy I will be looking at as well. And Kyer Elam from Florida. Or one of the receivers, a Chris Olave or somebody, if he's still there. I'd definitely like to get one of those guys if we trade back.
Mage?
First of all, what's up, Taj? Nice to see you in here, man. For me, honestly, I don't know if you guys caught the interview with Joe Shane recently, but Joe Shane talked about what he's going to do on draft day. He's going to come in, get in a little workout, then he's going to start working the phones, kind of get an idea where everybody's going, and then fill out trade scenario. So I'm calling the Saints to see if the Saints have any interest in giving me 16 and 19, one of those two picks. I mean, honestly, if we end up getting one of the tackles that we're looking at either 5 or 7, that's a perfect situation where now you can really fix the offensive line by taking a guy like Zion Johnson or Kenyon Green with the 16th or 19th pick. And then with that other pick, you can do whatever you deem necessary. If you want to go and get a cornerback, if Trent McDuffie's still available or an Andrew Booth at that point. Personally, I think that the Giants need to come away with a wide receiver possibly before the end of the 3rd round. So that's another situation there. Another guy that I really like too, which I think, just his metrics and his athleticism is Jordan Davis. Kind of really gives a lot of people kind of those Aaron Donald type of vibes. He's a little bit bigger, but I mean, man, that guy could really wreak some havoc on the defensive line as well. So,
man, you're speaking my language. It's nice to meet you, Mage.
Right.
Pleasure.
Hey, I put Garrett Wilson at number 7 on my mock drive, and I'm still getting killed for it. So,
yeah, I mean, Jamison Williams happened to fall down that board, and he's available there at 19. I know he may not be available this season, but I mean, how dynamic of a wide receiver would he be for the New York Giants if he fell to 19 due to injury?
And then what if we got Ojabo in the 2nd and let both those guys sit?
Ooh. Yeah, absolutely. Ojabo would be a nice grab in the 2nd round as well. Let me pose a question, Alex, if you don't mind. So, we were going through some mock scenarios yesterday, and I know Pat had just mentioned that he likes the idea of grabbing a wide receiver for the New York Giants. If there's no trade backs and the Giants don't grab a wide receiver at 5 or 7, are you prioritizing tight end being Trey McBride as the jewel of this draft class at 36, or are you going wide receiver? And before I continue, or before I let you guys answer, I asked, what is the player comp for the wide receiver? Because a lot of people are comping Trey McBride to being a George Kittle. So are you willing to give up a George Kittle type of player for a wide receiver at 36?
So what essentially you're asking me is if I would get Trey McBride over a wide receiver at 36. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be available to us in the 3rd round. I just don't think he makes it out of the
I definitely understand. I would go wide receiver, honestly. I personally, and I don't know if it was a similarity I had with you or Matt Riley today. I have Jahan Dotson going to the Kansas City Chiefs at 28, or one of the second pick they have.
That's dangerous.
But I kind of like him. I think this is a good class of wide receivers. I know obviously there's been, talk about George Pickens and, some of the character issues he may have about, coaches and stuff like that. I would go wide receiver. I think tight end is a little too high for the 2nd round. And you could find it in this draft class. You could find it throughout the draft. And I know I understand there's like a lot of different tight ends. And on our roster right now, we really don't have the blocking tight end. Ricky Seals-Jones and Jordan Akins really don't have that. But you go get a guy like, in the 4th round, maybe like Cade Otton. There's Jelani Woods. There's that guy from Maryland. I can't even pronounce
it.
I'm not going to pronounce his name either. Obi Conte. I like him too.
Yeah,
I just call him Obi.
Or whatever his name is. So
Okonkwo. There you go. Okonkwo.
Yeah. So there's a ton of tight ends in this class, and I'm not saying wait till the 6th round to get one, but if you get one in the 4th, 5th round, I mean, you won't have to go up for one in the 2nd round. So I would personally take wide receiver. In my opinion, also linebackers into play in the 3rd round. So if you select ideally what I think is going to happen, a cornerback and an offensive tackle, maybe linebacker or a safety in the 2nd, there's a lot of situations there. I'll let Joel answer Mage's question next.
Well, the thing is with the 2nd round, I'm on a wait and see approach with that. I haven't really designated a player because McKinney dropped. Ojulari dropped. I got to see there's some people that I haven't even heard of that are coming up into the late 1st round. And then we've got 5th round picks that are coming up into the 2nd and 2nd round picks that are going all the way down to this board is just all over the place. As far as the 3rd round, I expect tight end and probably Cook if he's there. Those are the 2 guys that I'm going to expect in the 3rd round as a tight end and a running back. I think they're going to be looking hard at those positions right about there because that's when the tight ends are going to start going. Unless there's an early run on them in the late 2nd or, later half of the 2nd, then we might trade up and grab one. But
interesting.
All right. Mage, is it? That's your name, my guy. Nice to meet you, bro. I don't think you guys heard what he said. I'm gonna answer his question. He said Trey McBride turns out to be a George Kittle type tight end. Is that am I quoting you correct?
Yeah, that's the name that usually gets brought up a lot with him. So
Trey McBride is going to turn into a George Kittle, and you could get him in the 2nd round. Do you guys know who George Kittle is?
Yeah.
George Kittle is a blocking tight end and the best receiving tight end in the game besides Kelsey. And I think he's a little bit better than Kelsey, to be honest with you. I think Kelsey just plays in a better system.
He's also been hurt quite a bit too, but
yeah, that's true.
I would agree with you.
He fills both roles for us. He's a number 1 target on the field. You have to acknowledge him on the field. You have to get your Roman Reigns on when he's on the field. You have to acknowledge him. Because if you don't, he's going to make you eat those words of not acknowledging him. And he's a very good blocker. Not just a decent block, a very good blocker. And you can get him in the 2nd round. Now imagine a team that we have a decent offensive line. Barkley's healthy, Tony's healthy, Galladay's healthy, and Shepard is healthy. So you got Shep, Tony, Galladay, Kittle, Barkley, a decent offensive line with Jones at quarterback. I'm taking that all day. I'm not even looking at a receiver. If he's George Kittle, like people are predicting on the beat, that's a hypothetical. But if that is true, you got to take him all day in the second round. You're not going to get a talent like that in the second round.
I think the comparison is there because he is basically, like I mentioned, Pat, he's a do-it-all tight end. He can block, he can pass catch, he can do it all. He's, I mean, especially after what we had with Evan Ingram for the last, 4 years. It's, the guy had every ability, couldn't block. He was almost useless. The Giants had to use 12 personnel most of the time, just so that they can aid in the offensive line and the blocking scheme. So Evan Ingram was really useless there. The other thing is, or reason why I asked the question too, is there was a name that was pretty hot during the college season that doesn't get mentioned quite a bit either. A wide receiver that might be there a little bit later, and David Bell, guy 6'1", wide receiver, was mentioned quite a bit. He's not very high on draft board, so he could be available for the Giants there with one of those 2 picks in the third round.
You know why David Bell is falling, bro? It's because he's a 6'1" receiver, but he runs. His speed is not good at the receiver position, bro. If he was like 6'6", maybe like a Herman Moore, but he runs like a possession receiver, and his route running is very good. So I think if you put him on a team that has a very good offensive line and that could get the quarterback time, you're not going to be able to guard him with his route running for very long because he has very good route running. But I think he's falling down draft boards because of his speed, man.
Well, another reason why Christian Watson climbed draft boards too, right?
Right.
4.36.
Yeah, and Cooper Kupp really helped him out tremendously.
Right.
Because he's that build of type receiver, and everybody wants a Cooper Kupp now. Hopefully his career turns out to be very well. But I think that's why David Bell is falling. But if you put David Bell on somebody, let's say the Packers, you put him on the Packers, he can definitely work that slot out there with the Packers paws. And I think he'd be a very good team that needs a good slot receiver because he's not quick or fast to me when I watch his film, but he knows how to maneuver his body. He has a big body to be 6'1". He knows how to maneuver his body to get those 50-50 balls, and he's just a very good route runner. So that helps him out for his lack of speed. But I think he ran like a 4.79 or 4.78, and that's bad at receiver, and that's why he's falling down draft boards. But I think he could be a good player. He goes to the right scheme for sure.
Definitely. I was going to go back to another question, but since we're already moving on, what are some late round or even mid round guys that look interesting to you? I'll name a couple off of my hand, just my personal thoughts and my personal favorites. Dylan Parham sticks out to me. Obviously, for me, I like even though his blocking ability can be, I would say inconsistent at times as a running back. Abram Smith, I like what he did at the Senior Bowl.
Baylor.
Cade Oden. For some reason, I like Baylor players this year. Also, Joe Shane was talking to the Baylor head coach at the Senior Bowl. But what are some late round prospects and maybe even mid round prospects you guys have an eye on? I'll start with Joel again.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking just as a Giants fan. So these are just Giant guys I'm looking at. The two linemen from Boston College, the guard and the center. Those are a couple of guys that I'm eyeing on the Giants to grab. There's a running back out of Baylor that I'm really interested in because when he did the Senior Bowl, he was looking.
You
really
talking about
good.
the guy I'm talking, Abram Smith?
It might be. I have a hell of a time with names.
Abram Smith.
Yeah, that running back, and there's a running back from Texas Tech. He's like 204 pounds, but my God, does he hit the hole like a hammer. I mean, he really impressed me in the games that I was watching on Saturday, and it's going to be interesting. I got to remember who that is.
Pat?
I'm going to go with a receiver from SMU, Danny Gray. I believe if somebody coaches him up, he can do everything that Slayton did his rookie year and more. Mid-round, I'm looking at James Cook if he falls to the third round, running back from Georgia. Cam Jurgens, the center from Nebraska, I'm looking at him. It's a tight end from San Diego State. I think Cade Dellinger.
That sounds about right.
I think you could get him in the 5th or 6th round. So say if we do get a Trey McBride or something, you get Dellinger to come in. And we got 4 tight ends because the 2 tight ends that we signed this year only on 1-year deals. So we could have 2 tight ends going into the future. Kayla's definitely right on that one. Kobe Bryant, the cornerback from Cincinnati. If he somehow falls to the 3rd round, I mean, he played well on the other side of Sauce Gardner. So if you could get a talent like that in the 3rd round, that would definitely be good.
Right.
But Mage, I'd definitely like to hear what you have to say on this topic before I have to get ready for our show pretty soon.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. A couple late round guys. I'm probably with those later picks. I'm looking at defensive interior. So I got like Neil Farrell out of LSU, Otito Obanya. At running back, I like Brian Robinson. Guy late. Almost fill that kind of Brandon Jacobs role for the New York Giants, real kind of bruiser inside runner. And at tight end, if we were to go a little bit later, I like Jeremy Ruckert as well.
Yeah, everybody loves Jeremy Ruckert.
Right.
Yeah, he's a hometown kid too. So
I would like to say one more player. My bad, Alex.
You're good.
Channing Tindall from Georgia. Not too many people are talking about him. You get to talk about Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker. Channing Tindall was very good for Georgia. And if you look at his film,
he started to make some noise recently.
He's a sideline linebacker that does not mind sticking his nose in there and hitting somebody. So I could definitely see if we could get a player like him in the 4th round, the pair with Martinez, hey, I'm all with it, man.
Yeah. I now that you're speaking of linebackers, one that speaks to me, and I like his big hit ability. I think he just needs to be more disciplined. Is Brandon Smith from Penn State? For some reason, I like him. Also, Joel, I think you were talking. Is Isaiah Spiller the guy you're talking about?
Isaiah Spiller. Wow, yeah.
Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M. Yeah, I think that's who you're talking about.
Was it A&M or Texas Tech?
Well, you said Texas Tech, so I'm gonna assume maybe.
I think.
Man, I gotta go. I gotta figure this out. I CRS over here. Old age creeping up on me. I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. And I've done so much. This is like the first. I'm not gonna lie. This is like the first year I've ever delved into the draft like this.
Yeah.
Watch college football the way I have been. Do these discussions like this and the names and wow, there's a woo. Now I got to do a fantasy league too.
This year's draft, man, I'm not going to be surprised that people get picked in the 6th, 7th round because I've done so much damn film watching and everything with Joe this year. It's like, man, yeah, he definitely can be picked in this round.
This is work.
Yeah, but I'm going to head out, fellas. Appreciate you. Glad to meet you, Mage. I don't know if you subscribe to our channels or not, but if so, hit that like and subscribe button for us, and you're welcome on the show anytime, man. Everybody's opinion needs to be heard about this Giants team. Shoot, we got to vent somehow, and appreciate Alex for having me on the channel,
Alex, bro. Thank you.
Anytime, man. You should have been letting me know about these. I would have been here, man.
All good, Pat. Obviously, his stuff is in the description. You guys have the True Big Blue podcast, I believe 9:30. Yes. So once this is done in about 10 minutes, you guys can go over there when it goes out there, and you guys can tune into them. They always have a good show. They always have a lot of laughs as well. That's what I enjoy, because Joel brings that to the table. Taj says shout out to Clapback Sports, and if you want to stick around and answer this question, Pat, you don't have to, of course, because I know you're hosting the show. What do you guys think is going to come out of this James Bradberry madness? I'll start with Joel.
What do I think is going to come out of this Bradberry madness? This is Joe Shane showing the league what kind of GM he's going to be. This is his time to show everybody what he's learned, where he's going, how he's going to conduct himself, and how he's going to do business transactions. And that means trading players, trading picks, doing the little stuff with his studying. He wants to know more than anybody else. We've seen that from his interviews. He's just confident, relaxed, no stress, enjoying his job. He has a direction and a plan. And what he's doing with Bradbury right now is letting the league know you guys aren't going to be able to just walk all over me like some other GMs. You're not going to be able to just sugarcoat it and put flowers in front of my eyes and say, yeah, you had a great deal when I, trimmed you. He's got something in store with this guy. It's going to be something that we're not expecting. And it's his safety valve right now. Bradbury is Shane's safety valve right now because he's just sitting there. Look, I can trade him, but I haven't yet. You guys want him? Come get him. I don't have to trade him. I've got a backup plan. Everybody's worried about the cap situation. He's not. He knows exactly what he's going to do if he has to keep Bradbury. If nobody wants him, he knows exactly how he's going to go with this draft. You're not going to fleece this guy. That's how I'm looking at the situation right now. Unfortunately for James Bradbury, but this is Shane's marketing tool right now. This is what he's going to be going forward. I hate putting people in that kind of light, but it is what it is. It's business.
Pat?
This whole situation, man, is either that he's going to be traded for a third-round pick of what they want. It may not even be a third-round pick this year. They might take one for next year. Or he's going to be extended. That's what I think. They're going to extend him to get that $12 to $13 million to sign the draft picks this year. Or they're going to trade him and still get the money to get those draft picks. And it may be a third round of this year or a third round of next year. More than likely a third round of next year. So I think that's what it is. I don't think he's going to accept anything less than a third rounder. And right now, I think he's getting fourth and fifth rounders. But once somebody breaks down and give him that third rounder, I think he'll let him go. But the good thing about it, they've been in contact with Bradbury, so they're not treating him like a redhead stepchild.
Right.
They probably let him know, hey, if we can't get what we want for you, bro, we're going to extend you more than likely. So it's probably why Bradbury hasn't came out and bashed the Giants organization or anything like that yet. So that's what I think about the whole ordeal. Man, unfortunately, I got to get ready for our show. But, man, I appreciate this, man. And I can't wait to do more with you, Alex, man.
Of course. Pat, you're always welcome on. Guys, subscribe to his channel. 9:30, they have the True Big Blue podcast. Shouts to Coach Ed Gladney. It was a pleasure having you on, Pat. If anyone else needs to go, they can. Because obviously, I know, Joel, you're a part of that podcast as well.
Man, I want to thank you for having me on. This was a blast, man. It was great to meet you, man. I appreciate all this. I love to answer the questions. I love to talk, the camaraderie, the chat. Make sure you all subscribe up to these guys, man. Alex does some great content. You guys like stats. Alex has got the stats for you. I've been following Alex for 8-9 months now, and every time I go on, he's just got the numbers. He knows his stuff, man. Loves his Yankees. Loves the Giants. His brother loves the Jets. Y'all can razz him. I appreciate it. Man, y'all have a great day, man.
Take care, Joel. Nice meeting you.
Joel.
Yep.
Let me ask you this, Mage.
Okay, go ahead.
What did you think of what happened today with the Mets?
Oh, man. I mean, I went back and I looked at the hit that Alonso took, and I don't know. I don't know how I don't get up. And I there's probably a reason I played football and not baseball. If I would have got hit in the head, I would literally take the bat with me to the mound. I mean, there's a reason that he has that ear flap, too. I mean, God, thank goodness he does. And then, they didn't throw at Arenado. They brushed him off. So what? Big deal. But I don't know. If I was Alonso, I would have carried the bat with me to the mound and just challenged somebody.
Mac said that needed to happen with the Mets. Mac is, I'm pretty sure, also a Mets fan as well. Jeffrey said Alex is a great person, very nice person. Thank you. Jack's calm.
If you don't mind, I wanted to answer the question from Jeffrey Jamestown.
Sure.
Just a little few up. He said that he knows we're talking Giants and Jets, but he wanted to know what we think with the New England Patriots. So if you don't mind, Alex, I'd like to address that real quick.
Go ahead.
Just because, I mean, I've done a couple mock drafts, and
Yeah.
for the New England Patriots, I've been saying all along that Tyler Lindenbaum seems like the perfect fit for New England. So he just seems like a New England guy. They traded their guard to
Jack
the
Mason,
Tampa Bay
yeah.
Buccaneers. So there's a hole there for them as well. And they also lost their center as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Ted
right?
Karras to the Bengals.
Right. So, yeah. So there's an absolute need there for them. So I can definitely see them going Tyler Lindenbaum with their first round pick.
In one of my first mock drafts, the full 30 that I did, and then I did a 2-round mock, but unfortunately OBS and me being tired kind of spoiled that, and I ended up accidentally deleting the stream. But it is what it is. They still have David Andrews, but I had them taking a wide receiver. Oddly enough, I think I had him taking Drake London, but now that you have me thinking about this O-line stuff, I might have to change it because I'm probably trying to release one final mock draft. If I have class tomorrow, I'm probably going to do a video version and record it tonight. But you got me thinking with that one.
I'm going to ask you a question, and I know you're too young to remember this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, Alex. So
go ahead.
The last wide receiver that the Patriots took in the first round was N'Keal Harry. When was the last time the Patriots took a wide receiver in the first round before that?
God damn. I'm going to throw out a random year.
Okay.
Shit. As I said, I don't know this one. I'm just gonna go 1994 because why not?
Very close. Very close. So it was Terry Glenn. I believe it was the 1993 draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
So Terry Glenn was the last wide receiver before N'Keal Harry drafted in the first round. So that's why when you say wide receiver first round, they didn't draft one in the first round for like almost 20 years, over 20 years. And then now they got burned by N'Keal Harry, and then they're going to draft another wide receiver in the first round. I'm not saying that it's not plausible because they obviously need the help, right?
Mm-hmm.
But man, it just seems like they just have not been very good at selecting wide receivers and have completely avoided that.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it as well, I mean, they lost J.C. Jackson, so they could select the first round corner.
They absolutely could. They could go linebacker as well. A guy like Nakobe Dean, if he's still there. Even Devin Lloyd. They can go obviously help on that defensive line too.
Yeah,
or defensive linebacker rather.
Of course. So MH says, "Yo, Alex, with this my boy Mage, Mets stand up. How you been?"
What's up, MH? As
Kayla says the Patriots need to draft a white wide receiver, so Alec Pierce maybe in the third round, and he's a slot guy. So you think of Julian Edelman, you could possibly think of Alec Pierce. MH also says, "How is Tino doing?"
So Tino's doing well. Tino got a new job. Actually, he's working for the NBA. MH. So we may not see him for a little bit.
Wow.
But Tino's doing well though. I still talk to him daily. So. He's done well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Hey, MH, get on Entertainer, will you, to bring back Woody Shea. So,
yeah, well, last year you guys debuted it, and I'm like, well, maybe now that after the draft season, it might be more active. But then again, that's between you and him.
So I came in a little late here. So let me ask you a question. What do you think let's go through the first 7 picks, Alex. What do you think the first 7 picks look like this draft come tomorrow?
Damn. See, I don't want to believe the smoke screens, and every single year I don't remember any smoke screens that happened the previous year. The one smoke screen that I remember is Justin Herbert to the Dolphins and Tua to the Chargers. And then obviously that wasn't true. And I believed it. And then when I did my predict the pick for the NFL.com, I got it wrong because I believed the smoke screen.
Dolphins should have taken Herbert.
Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda. The Jaguars locked down their offensive tackle today, so maybe Trayvon at 1 because Trent Baalke is Trent Baalke. Hutchinson at 2, Hamilton at 3. And the reason why I say Hamilton at 3, and shouts to Tony, who's also a Texans fan, by the way, so he will get this. So ready for tomorrow. Go Texans. I just feel like they need a name on that defense, someone who can play a lot of positions. And I'm not saying Tibbs can't do that. He actually said he would love to play for Lovie Smith's defense at the Combine press conferences, but I don't think he's going to be – I just don't think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be Kyle Hamilton. Plus, Lonnie Johnson, once again, is the only guy in their secondary. Then 4, I think it's going to be Tibbs. I think it's all smoke and mirrors for the Jets. My brother even said he would be mad if Jermaine goes over Tibbs to his team. And I'll be partying with Jets fans tomorrow night in Bay Ridge, so that's going to be a fun one. For the Giants, I have Sauce at 5 because I believe they think he's a real good defensive player, and I know that a lot of people think highly of him. But with that being said, I feel like they and I said this earlier in the show that they're so safe with Cross as a pass protector that they're willing to pass over Evan Neal. Now, Scott Fitter, the GM of the Panthers, just told Sam Darnold that they might be drafting a quarterback. So maybe that's a smokescreen. Maybe that's not. I think they need an offensive tackle more than ever. So I think Neal there. And then 7 for the Giants, I think it's Charles Cross. That's my personal opinion in the top 7.
All right. Yeah. So very early on, believe it or not, I had Ike Ekwonu going first overall to the Jaguars, and I got eviscerated. People said there's no way that they're doing that. They already have. I said it's still possible, but I will tell you this. So Baalke wants Trayvon Walker, Peterson wants Ekwonu, Khan wants Aiden Hutchinson. You know who wins in that battle? The owner. So Aiden Hutchinson first overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not buying all the smoke. That's up to everybody else. Second overall pick, I think it's going to be Sauce Gardner to the Detroit Lions.
Really?
I do. I think
they haven't learned from Jeff Okudah.
So that's the funny thing, though, right? So, Jeffrey Okudah would be enough to scare people. But at the same time, though, too, if Jeff Okudah can kind of come into his own going into his third year, and you have Sauce Gardner, they have a lockdown secondary. So I don't think it makes them any weaker. If anything, I think it can make them a strength. And by everything that I've seen and I've heard, I think Sauce Gardner might be the second best player available in this draft. I'm not buying all the Derek Stingley to the Texans, Derek Stingley at 3, because you know what? No one felt that confident a week ago. No one felt that confident 2 weeks ago.
You're right.
Again, I just think it's all smoke screens. I think that the Houston Texans, I don't know if that guy's still here, the Texans fan, but I have them going Trayvon Walker, 3rd overall.
Funny you should say that. In my latest mock, and I had it in 2 Texans at 13.
Trayvon going that late? I think someone's going to fall in love with his athletic ability.
And the versatility.
And let's face it, the Texans need everything, so he can certainly plug into more than one position for them as well. So Texans going Trayvon Walker. I do, and this was a couple weeks ago, I had the Jets going Jermaine Johnson. I think I'm going to stay with that. I think Robert Saleh, who was also a defensive end, sees something in the guys that he really likes, and I think Jermaine Johnson fits that profile. I think that people are turned off by Kayvon. I don't know how much of that is smoke, but this has been something that's been going on for a few weeks now with Kayvon. So I do think that Jermaine Johnson goes to the Jets. At 5, Giants select Kayvon Thibodeau. Now we had somebody on last night that said Kayvon is completely off the Giants board. I'm not believing that either. So I'm going Kayvon Thibodeau at 5. I agree with you. I think that the Panthers take the offensive tackle. Now, at this point, we have all three of them available, so it just comes down to preference, whatever they prefer. Let's say that they go Iga Makwanu, and the Giants is still sitting pretty there at 7 with Evan Neal. So,
yeah. Let me once again, obviously I said sauce and cross, which is funny, crisscross applesauce, if that happens. And you bet there will be shirts coming out. But if they select Evan Neal at 5 or even 7 if he falls, I'm going to try to sneak a beer tomorrow night and shotgun, because Evan Neal is one of my favorite players in this draft. And I know that obviously, like Big Pat was talking, that he's not going to be obviously the best offensive tackle right away. He's going to have his struggles, but he's just one of my favorite players in this draft. I do have a question that I never got to ask Pat and Joel, but I'm going to ask you in just a second. So one of my childhood friends, Jagger, says, what I want is Kyle Hamilton, Charles Cross, Leo Chenal, and Isaiah Likely for a late-round pick. Those are some pretty good names. I really like Leo Chenal for a third-round linebacker, and I think
I like Leo Chenal too. And again, in a blitz-heavy scheme, which is what Wink Martindale system is going to be, Leo Chenal plays downhill. He's great for a blitz, a heavy blitzing scheme.
I definitely agree. He had 8 sacks this past season with Wisconsin. Just a monster at that linebacker position.
Yeah, I like Leo Chenal.
Says everyone in the Jets building was walking back and forth really fast. That's because, and I just found this out a few days ago, that she's an intern for the New York Jets. So congrats on that. My brother would probably be very jealous of that. MH says, I love the name, sauce on him. Opinion on Jordan Davis. I don't think the Giants should draft him at 5 or 7, but he's a monster at defensive tackle. Probably one of my favorite players in this draft. Jeffrey says, hopefully the wide receiver from Penn State gets drafted tomorrow night. He is a good wide receiver. I have him going at 28 to the Kansas City Chiefs. Jahan Dotson. He's also a good player, and he's a player, honestly, I would look for in the second round if I were the Giants. But
I think I had Jahan Dotson going in the first round as well, possibly to the Chiefs.
I had them going Booth and then Dotson, because I feel like they really need corner.
Yeah, their 2 picks are pretty close if I remember correctly. Here we go.
Tony says,
hey, look at that. At 29, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Andrew Booth, and at 30, I had them selecting Jahan Dotson.
Wow.
Great minds think alike.
Definitely. Tony says Giants take Kayvon at 7 and Cross at 5. That's interesting. That's interesting.
So
but
the one thing that I've heard recently is that Evan Neal is the top tackle on the Giants board. Matter of fact, I don't want to steal any credit. I think Justin Pennick had just said that recently on Talking Giants. So, and I also heard that from other people as well, that Evan Neal was the top tackle on the Giants board. So I think all the interest in Cross was more due diligence than anything else.
I could definitely see that. To be honest, I'm still taking I'm still buying into the fact they're going to select Charles Cross. For some reason, I just have that feeling, and I'm not going to prepare myself to say the Giants are 100% drafting Evan Neal for them to select Cross. And I'm not saying it's a disappointment, but with that being said, I just feel like they have more confidence in Cross. Cross probably fits what they want to do. And now, obviously, this was another throw out in the smoke screen. And I'm going to say that an NFL GM probably tried releasing a smoke screen to get him to fall down the board. Maybe it was Shane, maybe it was some other guys across the league, that now Evan Neal wouldn't some of his physical.
Yeah.
And nobody was fazed by it. So I still have him getting drafted pretty high.
Actually, my partner on Clapback Sports, Murph, actually just tweeted at Duke Mayweather and said, Duke, put this to rest right now. And he did. He said, no, this isn't true at all. He's been working out with me. Not once was I ever alerted that there was a medical concern. So I agree with you. I think it's somebody trying to get him to fall down the board. Probably Seattle.
Screw Seattle. Emily says, will the Giants take another third round projected NFL ready QB? I hope not. Like I said to Pat and Joel, I said, you feel how you want about Daniel Jones, but if they select a quarterback this year, they will be doing what they did in 2019 with an arguably, in my personal opinion, worse class. I mean, there's more options that could go in the first round, but I just think they're average. That's not what you want to select at 5 or 7.
I said the other day on our podcast that this isn't the draft where I'm looking for a franchise quarterback. If I need a quarterback, I'm taking one with the highest floor. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I mean, they all have major bust potential. So,
yeah. Kayla says my realistic and safest mock is Aiden, Kayvon, Iquanu, Sauce, Neal for the Giants, Cross, Walker, Wilson, Stingley, and Williams. My brother loves Jamison Williams. Stingley, that is to the Seahawks. Wilson, the Falcons need a wide receiver, but badly.
Yeah. I also have the Falcons taking Garrett Wilson as well.
I had them selecting Jermaine Johnson, I think, in my latest mock because they need edge.
Yeah, but the problem is, though, too, is that Calvin Ridley's also suspended for the season because of the whole gambling thing.
Right.
They don't have anybody there. Their biggest offseason signing was what? Tyler Boyd, I believe.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I mean, they need somebody. I don't think they go quarterback. They signed Mariota. He's back with his old head coach in Arthur Smith. So
yeah.
But yeah, they have no wide receivers whatsoever. I agree with Kayla. I think they go Garrett Wilson at 8.
I mean, I would also keep tabs. I think they have 2 second-round picks, if I'm not mistaken. So one of them could be used on wide receiver. And like you move into, and I don't know how Dean Pease operates his scheme in Atlanta, but if they're looking for an edge guy, you definitely want to get it if there's still options in the top 10. Because you go to the second round, and there's some good guys depending on what you're looking for. There's Boye Mafe from Minnesota. There's Arnold. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. More of a speed rusher from Penn State. But the problem with him is he's not really experienced against the run, and there's a lot of other things that go wrong with him. So you're really looking for the first round edge if that's what they're looking for. Once again, we don't know. We're not in the room. Jeffrey says, hopefully Saquon Barkley does good for the Giants this year. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're all rooting for him. Miz says, Neal or Tibbs, please. What's up, Bronx? Yeah, I mean, I know that Miz has been pounding that Tibbs is the best player in the draft. If they get both of them, I mean, that's great. But I just don't see it as too realistic. Do you think the Giants will draft a tight end? I believe they will. It's not going to be first or second round. It's going to be fourth round, and I think further than that. Maybe fourth round they select James Cook, but maybe third round as well. But I just don't see them selecting a top tight end there. For some reason, that's just not me. Do the Texans wait until next year, draft a quarterback, seeing that the selections of QB are monster next year? It depends how they feel, honestly, about Davis Mills. I mean, he did okay last year, probably had some underrated numbers, compared to that class. So I mean, if you're a Texans fan and you're not impressed with Davis Mills, wait till next year. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that they really do like Davis Mills quite a bit, but the Texans will be in a position where they can get one of those guys if they want, and they don't have to do it in the first round. If we're looking at Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett possibly going in the first round, even Desmond Ridder, that still leaves Matt Corral there for them as well. If they wanted to in the second.
Yeah,
do
and
they have
also
a second round pick, I believe they do, right?
I think they do have a second round pick. We just because I could scroll down.
Yeah,
I think they have an early one. 37.
They pick 37. They pick after us.
Yeah. Also, good point to bring up about that next year stuff is I know the Texans are possibly looking to trade back. So with that being said, you move back 3 or 13 into a quarterback needy team. You go out there and you get your first round pick for next year.
Yeah, and they already made. They had the Browns' first round pick from making that trade with for Deshaun Watson too. It's a good point.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: Once again, I didn't get to ask Joel and Pat this, but if it wasn't about Martindale's scheme and just, if you were up there, if you were a GM and you would select one of these two players at 5 for the defense, would you select Tibbs or Sauce?
I'm going Tibbs.
Why is that?
So I think Tibbs is the better player. Everybody has been talking about this guy for quite some time. At one point, he was projected to be the first overall pick, right? Tank for Tibbs. Everybody wants to tank for something. But, that was the motto at one point. This guy was supposed to be one of the best defenders. And then Aiden Hutchinson ended up having the season that he did, kind of overshadowed a little bit what Kayvon Thibodeau did. And not only that, too, I think it's harder to hit on cornerbacks, especially in the first round. And, you just mentioned Jeffrey Okudah not too long ago, who went very high to the Detroit Lions and didn't play so well. Honestly, and you asked a question before about Bradbury. I think there's a good chance that Bradbury's on this roster, after the draft. I think they could very well extend him. I think they're going to wait to see how the draft does play out. But absolutely, the one guy, draft what you can't get. Draft what's not accessible in free agency. Edge rushers don't become available in free agency because they're
also
hard to
in the
come
later
by.
rounds too.
Yeah, and left tackles are hard to come by. No one just gets rid of them. So yeah, an edge rusher definitely. I'm definitely drafting Tibbs over Sauce.
Yeah, and I know Joel was talking about how he doesn't really see or doesn't really prefer the Giants to take a tackle in round 1, and that I guess his thoughts were just take it in the later rounds, which if I go on their podcast, I'll probably ask him about. So Miz says that Tibbs easy. I'll be honest, I feel better about Stingley than I do Mod Sauce Gardner. And now I will actually kind of rebuttal your point there. And listen, there's a ton of cornerbacks that go in the top 10 that have been busts. I mean, we should know. Eli Apple, Prince Amukamara didn't work out. But also Denzel Ward just got a major extension. He was a 4th overall pick for the Cleveland Browns. So, I mean, you got to pick your options, and obviously it has to do with players and the situation they're in. How would you rank, I would say, the rushers group? I mean, obviously Kayvon and Kayvon and Hutchinson would be the 1 and 2. Who would you go after that? And also, I'm going to ask you the same question about the tackles and why.
How far are we going? How many players? 5? Top 5?
Yeah, top 5.
All right. So yeah, obviously Hutchinson, Thibodeau. I would have to go with Jermaine Johnson 3rd.
I agree.
Just simply based on production, and then Trayvon Walker and George Karlaftis.
Okay. Honestly, that might be just lined up with what I have. Top 5 tackles.
But there's not a whole lot of separation in this draft.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. There's nobody that's like a superstar or 2 players that are really close. They're all kind of like, they could be starters on the team.
Yeah. It's like 2 and then it's dropped. Like just with the tackles, which I'll ask you about next, top 5, it's 3 good starters in the top 10 and then just dropped. So thoughts on the tackles, how would you rank them top 5?
I'm going to go with Evan Neal, Charles Cross, Ike Ekwonu, Bernard Ryman, and then Trevor Penning.
Interesting to say the least. And I'll go 2 more questions, and maybe we could finish this thing with a mock draft.
Sure.
Let's see. Miz says, biggest mistake in history. I'm serious. If we don't take one of the top 3 tackles, we are fucking bad. Evan Neal is a diamond, most polished player, most polished tackle in the class. Neal, Ekwonu, and Cross. Tony also says the NFL draft takes so long. I want to see 32 picks in 3 hours to just watch Jameis Winston play. That's funny. I'll give you credit there, Tony. That's funny. But no, I would definitely so much prefer that they take a tackle in the top, few many. And
here's the reason I have Cross ahead of Ekwonu. One, Kwanu might end up being an all-pro guard. We don't know if he's going to be an all-pro tackle.
Right.
The other thing, too, is that the Giants' biggest weakness for the last couple of years has been pass protection, not run blocking. Their offensive line, as bad as it has been, has graded out better in run blocking than it has in pass blocking.
Yeah.
It's easier to teach a player to go forward in a run blocking scheme than it is to go backwards in a pass block and teach them techniques, how to anchor, etc. So that's why I give Cross the edge over Ekwonu.
Yeah, and he just probably fits, and we all know that. Well, it just seems most likely that the Giants are going to, really go more towards passing than running. I mean, we know what Buffalo is. We know what they want to make Daniel Jones to be or their next quarterback. And Charles Cross is probably the most pro-ready in terms of pass protection. You obviously mentioned the stuff about Ika moving to guard, and we mentioned earlier on the show how he's got some technique issues. And he's still at number 2 because of the way he could end up as a football player overall.
It's the upside potential, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people end up banking on when it's just, not how they're pro-ready, but also what they could be because you're picking them in the top 10. Jeffrey says, Alex, when you were talking about the baseball brothers, you see last week between the Red Sox AA and the Mets AA team. The Mets AA team is about 20 minutes away from me, so I think I would have heard something. Maybe I missed something. Miz says, brother, give me any of those 3 tackles. Yeah, listen, if it was up to me, I would take one of those 3 tackles, or even if it was Cross and then just go in the second round and take one. I would rather honestly go, in the first round and take one because we've missed our opportunity so much. What are some positions that and I'm going to guess quarterback is definitely on this list for you, positions you would like to avoid with the 5 and 7 picks?
I just don't think quarterback is a need. With the 5 and 7 picks, defensive tackle, linebacker, tight end, safety, running back, obviously, and quarterback. So basically, give me offensive line, give me cornerback, edge. I think that's about it, pretty much. Oh, wide receiver, 4 positions I would take.
Yeah. I'll take a look when I get a chance, Jeffrey. I just got my new phone set up today. Tony says the Texans website posted a mock. They have Jordan Davis at 13th overall. It's not bad. I mean, the Texans need a lot of things. What I forget what I was just going to bring up. But
so, Tony, I actually in my mock draft, I also had Jordan Davis going 13 to the Texans as well. So a lot of coincidence.
A lot of similar thinking here. Yeah. A lot of similar thinking here. But I just also find now maybe this is me just blowing shit out of the air, but at the end of that, the Giants posted they had a round table with Shane, Carl Banks, Bob Papa, and Brian Dable. It was like a 50-minute video, and then you had David Deal and Sean O'Hara break down some of these tackle prospects, whatever, and also the edge prospects as well. But at the end of the video, or even just highlights during the video, I mean, you saw Evan Neal. I don't know if you saw too much of Charles Cross. You saw Ekwonu. You saw Jermaine Johnson. You saw Tibbs definitely, and I think you saw Hutchinson as well. So, in your view, do you think they're going in that direction, or do you think it's – and now obviously they probably will go in that direction or some sort of direction, but do you think those are the players they are eyeing, or it's just, okay, let's just give the fans a bluff?
Again, I think a lot of that comes from the PR and or marketing team, social media team rather. I don't think those indicate players that they're actually looking at. But those are all top players. I don't rule any of them out for the New York Giants.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying. Before we head into this mock draft to cut off the night, predictions: who the Giants take at 5 and 7?
Me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my board here. I'm really liking this mock draft. I only did one that I actually put out and published. I'm still liking this board here. So I'm going Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal at 5 and 7.
I would absolutely love that, and we'll see what happens, obviously. So, with that being said,
if that happens, you got to send me a video of you shotgunning a beer.
I will do that.
Okay,
I will do that. And looks like we may be able to play in this situation that, of course, my screen doesn't want to show. Now that we have this showing, it looks like your situation could very much play out in this mock. But for Neal actually got taken by the Jets, which my brother's very much for a Jets fan who's suffered for so many years. You think they would be very much for taking an offensive lineman, but he doesn't want offensive line at all. He wants nothing to do with it because he thinks that they have capable starters.
I think it's smart for the Jets to take an offensive lineman. I mean, you got Mekhi Becton, which a report just came out that he registered in at over 400 pounds at one point last year. George Fair starting on the left side of the line for the New York Jets.
He wasn't bad last year.
No, he wasn't. And they invested in the offensive line. The Elijah Vera Tucker they took last year in the draft. So, but they still you got a young quarterback. Don't repeat the Giants' mistakes, man. Tell your brother that, please. You got to protect the young quarterback. I don't know what Zach Wilson's going to be, but I mean, regardless, he can't throw a ball if he's on his back.
I'll be sure to tell him that, but what he's going to throw in my face is, oh, we got to build up this defense. Well, you know what?
I disagree. It's funny, those first 3 picks are the ones that I had suggested. So
Tony says, I want to see a live stream of Alex walking home in anger. And I said, if they select quarterback or wide receiver tomorrow night, I will walk the 4.2 miles home from the bar. And I will have myself recorded that. That's so you're either going to get a shotgun of a beer if it's Evan Neal, or you're going to have possibly walking home if in like 50-degree weather in the middle of the night. And then I won't pay attention to the rest of the draft. But I think we're very clear on who we're selecting 5. Tibbs. Right?
Yeah, I'm all for it.
So they select Charles Cross. So we down for Ekwonu?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's an ideal situation for the New York Giants where you still have 2 guys sitting on the board at 5 there at the offensive tackle position. So you still get either one.
A lot of interesting options here. We already took care of our edge. The ones I see in play are 3 players, and I want to hear your thoughts. And I think I got one of your thoughts on a different player before. Leo Chenal is available, Jalen Petre, and Travis Jones. I really like Jalen Petre, but give me your thoughts on Chenal, Jones, and Petre.
So, Travis Jones here for an interior defensive lineman. I know some people have him ranked as first on their board amongst interior defensive linemen. I don't see the defensive line being a need for the Giants right now. I'm not drafting him. I'm passing on him. I'm rolling him out. Leo Chenal, I really do like quite a bit. But at the same time, I could be looking at a guy like Asamoah later on.
In the third round, we got 2 third-round picks.
Yeah, so I'm okay with also passing on him there. What I'm looking at here, and I wanted to ask you a question too. I mean, the Giants recently have been linked to Sam Howell. I'm not buying it. I don't think they take him.
Yeah.
But if I'm the Giants here at pick 36, I want to see what wide receivers are still available.
Certainly. So wide receiver, Jahan Dotson. I mean,
I'm okay with that. So another guy that I like too is Christian Watson, 6'4". He obviously ran the 4.36 at the combine. So if Jahan Dotson's there, Christian Watson, I'm okay with that. Honestly, pick 36. I don't care what PFF says their rank is. I'm going wide receiver here in the second round.
Dotson it is. I'm surprised that they had Mechie over Watson, being that the combine, obviously Mechie's coming off that injury. It's PFF, so we can't take too much into account. I think we go Asamoah here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You also got Jamari Sailor still available there. So let's see if we could grab him a little bit later. That was actually Andrew Thomas's teammate there at
Yep.
Georgia.
Yeah, he plays guard and tackle.
Yeah.
What I know. So the versatility is there, but I think we're going to take Asamoah here. We're up in 14 picks. So praying that somebody's there.
So Dylan Parham's still available.
Yeah. He can play all over the line. I mean, he was taking snaps at the Senior Bowl. He played guard this past year for Memphis, and then the year before that he played tackle, and he's a guy I really like.
I do too. So he was a guy that I grabbed a lot in my earlier mock drafts right here in the third round as well. I think Asamoah, had we gone Sayer first, may have actually fell to us just because a lot of people will be looking for offensive line help, maybe not so much on the linebackers. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Parham here is a good draft pick.
All right, so now we got 112, which is next. Jagger says I would take Leo, obviously referencing back to the spot where we had Leo Chenal. And then Tony says he's a big fan of Travis Jones. So now we got this pick. We already went wide receiver. We already went offensive guard. We already went edge. So there's a lot of options here. We could of course trade back. Right now we're at 112. So I'm going to see, and I'm surprised Brandon Smith's still on the board, but we already grabbed a linebacker.
Yes, we grabbed Asamoah.
I mean, there's a couple of running backs that will be out of. Actually, you know what? Let's see what tight end's doing. I don't know. Do you have any position of preference?
So again, I don't mind building the wall. Luke Fortner is still available there at center for us, which is a name that I do like if we're going to continue to build the interior offensive line. So we took Aquanu, we took Parham. Might as well go ahead and get Luke Fortner. We only have John Feliciano, and then who knows how Nick Gates is going to come back as well. So
Luke Fortner it is. So now we have 3 picks left. Obviously, got to use them wisely. Tight end has got to be one. Running back has to be one. And we could use defensive linemen maybe at some point. But
so this is an area in which I would preferably like to grab my tight end just because I've done enough of these PFF mock drafts to kind of know who's going to fall. And you got a lot of guys there. Yeah, Bellinger, who I believe Pat was talking about. The kid out of Maryland, which I do like. He's a nice physical tight end, size, good speed. Then you got Isaiah Likely, which a lot of people like. Here at this point, I would probably draft a kid out of Maryland.
Yeah, I agree. So now we got 2 picks left.
Now, this is probably where I'm looking at the running backs, and my guy is still there. Sorry?
I said Robinson is right here.
Yeah, that's my guy. This is usually his spot here. A little bit of a bigger back. We're now in the 5th round with the 30th pick. That's usually who I've been taking in this area.
Right. I don't need a profile. I watch college football. Robinson, and then
I think he's a perfect complementary back to Saquon Barkley. So
we got
now here. This is now another guy that I like later on in the draft, and shout out to my boy Matt, but he loves fullbacks, and what better fullback than one that can also block and play guard? So he likes Jason Poe quite a bit. At 182, we can also see what interior defensive linemen are available. Not sure there may be many left, but
I know the names. I just haven't watched a lot.
Yeah, Curtis Brooks is one. What about cornerback or safety? Anybody?
I'll look safety and then cornerback.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
This is tough. I mean,
this is a 6th round pick, so
yeah. You could go anywhere. I'm trying to think here. So We haven't taken a safety yet, so we could take Sterling Weatherford.
I'm all for it.
All right, out of Miami, Ohio. All right, now, of course, they're going to grade us. God knows how that's going to turn out.
Probably a B-. That's their average rating. Unless you take, what was it? One year we did the mock draft and we just drafted all quarterbacks. It was
it was like an A. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, the other thing too is because you had the COVID last season and everything. There's going to be so many undrafted free agents.
Yeah.
That's going to be available after the draft. Giants are going to end up filling their roster with a ton of these guys.
D+ for Dotson. You can go fuck yourself.
Wow. Look, I'm just saying my picks were pretty A+. That's all.
As an A-, so we're not far off.
No.
But this would be a very good draft, and I know mock drafts are mock drafts, but it just shows you that the New York Giants, they got a lot of options. They got a lot of options, a lot of different routes, and you can't go wrong really unless they choose to go wrong. It's very easy. With that being said, we're going to close it out here. Mage, final thoughts before tomorrow's draft.
Man, I'm just really excited for tomorrow. This really feels like Christmas Eve. I was thinking about just calling out of work for the next 2 days and just completely diving into the draft. I'm just excited as a Giants fan. We get excited every year for the draft because our team hasn't been very good. But I'm excited because I feel like we got the right pieces in place in the front office. And Joe Shane, Brandon Brown was a very underrated signing, taking him from the Philadelphia Eagles as well.
And they made a rule about it now that you can't block people going out. Like, well, fuck yourself.
And then Kafka, I'm interested to see what he can do. You got Tierney, Brian Dable. I'm just really excited about the season, and all starts tomorrow, Alex.
Yeah, as Pat said, the rebuild truly starts tomorrow. With that being said, we're going to close out here. You guys can follow Mage, of course, on Twitter. He's a part of the Clapback Sports Podcast with Murph. You guys can also subscribe, do all the good stuff on this channel. More content coming out. Won't be live streaming the draft because I'll be partying with Jets fans, but it's either going to be I'm shotgunning a beer that I steal from somebody, or it's going to be I'm walking out of there within the first hour. But we appreciate you guys, Tony, Jagger. Hope the Giants make some smart decisions tomorrow night. And, unless they draft a quarterback, tight end, linebacker, or any of those other stupid positions at 5 or 7, you can't go wrong. We have a lot of needs on this team. And the rebuild and the full assessment of culture under Brian Dable starts tomorrow. So appreciate you guys. Let's go Giants. Peace out. See you later. Have a good night, everyone.